Hello everyone and welcome back. Now that we have tool selection behind us, it is time for us to move into brush selection, focusing primarily on the onGUI method in this video. Lee?
Alright, so I'm trying to click and scroll. As you can see, we're in the Train Sculptor inside of onGUI. Matter of fact, I'm going to close some of this other stuff out. We don't need it. So we'll close the hard edge brush, the soft edge brush, the Unity script overview, which I don't use very often. Matter of fact, I don't even think I ever use it, but just in case. Stencil brush, we're not going to need that anymore. So back into the Train Sculptor's onGUI method. Now, a lot of the stuff that we've already done up to this point is going to be the same for selecting a brush as we're doing for selecting a tool, except it's going to be for selecting a brush and not a tool. So we'll scroll down here, go ahead and copy all of the code that we are using pretty much for actually all the code that we use to deal with the tool. Now,
You just pasted it, right?
Yep, I just pasted it.
Okay.
So we've already defined temp, so we don't need to redefine or reset it up as a var, otherwise it gives us an error. But right now, we need our max brush count, not our tool count. So everywhere that we're talking about our tool count, we're going to replace with brush count. So that's going to be this loop as well as this loop. And down here when we're reassigning tools as well. So this should be all of our brush counts. And I copied above the draw texture. So I'm going to take our separator, copy it, and I'm going to put a separator between our tool and our brush section.
Okay.
I also don't need to draw a second box, so we can get rid of this. So we're basically, we finished up our use of temp, so we're going to reassign it to be our brush count. We're going to need to copy our brushes into our temp. Now these aren't the real brushes, these are Boolean values to dictate what state the toggle is displaying.
All right, hang on one second. We seem to be suffering a little bit of internet breakdown. All right, go ahead and say something.
Something?
All right, we'll see how it goes. Go ahead and continue.
So what was it doing? It just
Cylon.
Cylon.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Well, we can't assign the brushes array because I haven't created it. So it's like so we'll run back up here to the top. We're going to set up some brushes, which is going to be an array of booleans, and this will be our max brush count. So now that we've got that, we should be able to do our deep copy of our brushes array into our temp array. Now, everywhere inside of here where we're referring to tools, we need to refer to brushes instead. As well as over here. And instead of loading in the icons for our sculpt tools, we need to load in the icons for our individual brushes. So the very first one will be our soft brush, then our hard brush, our noise brush, and our stencil brush. Now these correspond to the icons that we had set the values for. Well, can't spell that. But these represent the icons that we had set a couple of videos back when we did that real long, boring process of taking all of our brushes. And how about our brushes? Yeah, like our noise brush, where we went through and set up all of our properties for each one of our textures that represents a brush icon. So that's all we're doing here is pointing these out. Now we need to adjust our left positions for each of our rectangles to correspond with the fact that they are going to be the next set over from our tools.
Mm-hmm.
So our first value is 213 by 263. Again, we're incrementing by 50 each time. 313 and 363. So this should take care of everything we need for this part of the code. Now, we need to compare our temps with our brushes array. And that didn't work. I hit the wrong button again. There we go. So we're going to compare each temp with a brush, and if one of them is not equal, we're going to figure out what is not, or what is changed, and we're going to create a new brush based off of that. So I'm going to put some brackets in. Because our brush creation is a two-step process. So we need an extra line here. Now, instead of assigning to a tool, we're going to assign a new brush. So this will be a new brush. Well, actually, not so much a new brush, but the specific type of brush.
Right.
0 is going to be our soft edge brush. 1 is our hard edge brush. 2 is our noise brush. And 3 is our stencil brush. Now, I had mentioned that this is a two-step process. So if we scroll up, and I think it's down, a select brush. When we're creating a new brush, after selecting it, we create the new brush, but then we go through and we assign our icon to it. So we need to do this. And luckily, now when I think about it, I don't have to do it that way. I can do it this way. Something I couldn't do in my R&D because mine was set up slightly different. So I don't need all of the extras here. Once again, changing things on the fly. All right, so that will set our brush icon based off of whatever brush we create.
Mm-hmm.
We need to change tools here to be brushes. Same with this one. Sticky tool only applies with tools, not brushes. And then we still need to break out once we find the very first one, because otherwise it will cause a behavior. If you see this behavior, it's because you probably forgot to put the break in. But what ends up happening is as you select the tool that is always to the right or one greater in this array, what will happen is it'll always let you select the tool to the right or the brush to the right. But if you forget the break here, you won't be able to reselect any of the brushes to the left of the currently selected brush. It's just kind of a weird behavior that I found, which is why we got to break out. Because otherwise it just goes, oh yeah, you've changed it. Oh, it's changed again. And it just cascades all the way down. So if I build that out, and we run, cross my fingers and hope this all works. So if we bring up our tool, here's our brushes.
Look at that.
So they hover over. If I hit the hard button, I've got a hard brush, our noise brush, our stencil brush, which is different than our soft brush.
Right.
Because our soft brush will have the ring around it.
Awesome.
So we do know that our selection is working. There is one problem because I had copied the separator here,
Mm-hmm.
and then I had actually ended up putting this code before it, which is why I copied a second one. But there should be one here. I never went and set the position when I made the copy for the separator.
Gotcha.
So we'll have to go back to that. That's this one, which is being set to the same value as it's being set up here.
Mm-hmm.
So we're just effectively drawing the separator on top of itself. So we'll have to modify this separator to make this one 413. And if we run it again, give it a sec to fire up. Start the tool. And once again, did it not build for me?
Doesn't look like it. There you go. Nice.
There we go. Now we've got our separator. Now, one of the things that doesn't happen, if I select a brush and we get the underline,
Mm-hmm.
what's not happening is if I hit the number keys to switch my brushes,
Right.
you'll notice that this is not updating. So in the next video, we're going to go back and put the code in place for the brush selection that will tie this in with the hotkeys.
Awesome.
So as you hit 1, 2, 3, and 4, these will update to reflect the currently selected brush.
Okay. Fantastic. Well, with that, that is going to wrap up this video. Thanks a lot.